right? And have an opportunity to become legend and then some at Ohio State with a win against this Alabama team that looks just destructive and awesome and completely Nick Saban. Right down to Devontae Smith, not really having much to say about the Heisman Trophy ceremony tomorrow. Didn't really want to talk about it. Didn't care that they were playing in Miami. Said, hey, just spot the ball, let me go. We just want to play. I'm not here for all this individual stuff. Dude out here talking like he's a lineman, quite honestly. And to that point, Alabama won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in football. And I'm going to get to the 9-unit breakdown here in a little bit, but I want to talk about Nick Saban and Alabama for a bit here too. Before I do that, and see if I can't find a question, answer that question, and then get back to some stories about Nick Saban and process and how the process was birthed with Ohio State and how the process has been Nick Saban's way of building champions for more than a quarter century now. So if you got a question in the chat, drop it in there and I will talk with you. So we got in here, man. Shout out to my buddies at College Football Nerds, Daniel and Josh, doing outstanding work. I appreciate them showing up. Daniel's become one of my best friends, and I'm really privileged to know him. Let's see. I'm getting score predictions. We'll get there in a little bit. Let me see. Looking for a question mark here, guys. Drop a question. Or don't, whatever you want to do. All right, I'm going to take this on right quick. This dude, Beavis, says Skalsky is such a dirty player. He has history of these kinds of hits. No, he's not a dirty player. As a matter of fact, the man went on Twitter not 2 days ago to say, look, bottom line is I got to keep my head up, all right? I did not try to hurt anybody. I have tremendous respect for our opponents, tremendous respect for the people that I'm playing against. But I got penalized for a rule that's there for a reason. It was a classy response. And watching the hit, I didn't believe that James Skalsky was trying to hurt Justin Fields. Should he have got his head up? Absolutely. Hit what you see what you hit. But I don't think that was a malicious football hit, even if it was a dangerous one. So I want to put that away. That's Bush, dude. Let's see what we got here. Let me see. What do you think about Ohio State's defensive line versus Najee Harris? It's a really good question, right? Because I believe that with Tommy Togiai and with Haskell Garrett, you have two great defensive tackles there in the middle, and they've been really great against the run. You also give them an opportunity to stay to keep linebackers clean like Tuff Borland. I don't think it's really going to be about the defensive line versus Najee Harris or even defensive line against the offensive line that is Alabama. I think when you try to spill them to the outside, it's going to be, can Baron Browning run down Najee Harris? Because watching Trevor Lawrence turn the corner on Baron Browning was something I did not expect to see. Coming out of high school, Baron Browning was 240 and running like an 11-second 100-meter dash, which is flying. He's faster than that now. So for Trevor Lawrence to beat him to the corner early in that game in the Sugar Bowl was eye-opening to me, which means that Najee Harris could beat him to the corner. You're going to have to find ways to stop that. And if you go nickel, you're going to have to hope that the nickel can wrap up and put down what I think is the best tailback in college football over the season, but Trey Sermon has been the hottest tailback in college football over the last two games. So we'll get into that here pretty quick. All right. So I found it really interesting that Nick Saban has always been Nick Saban. The man really can't do with celebrating wins. He just can't stand it. He wants to win. He hates to lose. But once he wins, he wants to get back to the process of winning. He wants to skip the celebratory process altogether. He just wants to go back and try to win. As a matter of fact, when he was defense coordinator at Michigan State finished the regular season 8-2-1 in the Big Ten 1987, earned an invitation to the Rose Bowl. There they played USC. The team had been defeated back in the first game, like they defeated USC early in the season. USC had become a different team by then, as we are wont to say about a lot of teams, right? With a more potent offense led by Rodney Peete, who had matured into a really great passer. Michigan State's defense, though, allowed just a few long drives, but in the end, pressured USC enough to force 4 turnovers. Spartans won that game 20-17. Jack Ebling, then a beat writer for the Lansing State Journal covering Michigan State, remembers entering the Spartan locker room after the game. The players and coaches were all going wild, all except for one of them. I looked in the corner and there was Saban slumped all alone, taking huge drags from a cigarette. He looked like someone had shot his dog. He was miserable. I asked him what was wrong. He looked at me and said, "Did you see what they did to my defense?" In a game they won, where they held the offense to 17 points and had 4 turnovers, Nick Saban was smoking one, trying to figure out how his defense had been exposed in this way. That's the kind of dude he is. Matter of fact, another outstanding story that I really love is following his first national championship as a head coach at LSU, right? And you got to remember that LSU squad was really, really great. I mean, Matt Mock, Michael Clayton, Andrew Whitworth, who is like legitimate, he's a legitimate Hall of Famer. That dude's still playing left tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. Like that's bonkers. He's damn near 40. Let me find this spot real quick. Okay. So following a win against following their win in the national championship, Tommy Moffitt ushered in Michael Clayton and Matt Mock to see Saban, like immediately into the coach's locker room. Michael Clayton's a wide receiver. Matt Mock, obviously, is quarterback for LSU. And the only thing that Saban wants to say to them immediately after winning the national championship is, we got to know what you guys are doing next year. Not good game, not great year. I just need to know whether or not you guys are going to be back next year. Like, that's where his mind was. And it was so off-putting to Mock that he said, I'm done playing for this man. I can't do this anymore. Michael Clayton, of course, entered the NFL draft. The last story to get across just how little Saban seems to want to care about celebrating victories is after winning his first championship at Alabama, national championship at Alabama, he called a coaches meeting the next morning early to say, this is what we got to do when we get back to Tuscaloosa. These are the things we got to fix in a game that they absolutely won. I have a hard time celebrating victories. I have a hard time really getting into what has been accomplished because, like many of you that watch this show and have seen how much I produce, I like to work. I love the work. And I believe that good things come from doing good work. But even I try to give my flowers, right, to the people around me and be grateful to them and really take a lot of my joy in watching them be joyful. That's what I hope to see from Nick, and I think that's what he gets across later. But immediately after, he doesn't want to deal with you telling him attaboy and how to feel about it. As a matter of fact, GQ article that Warren St. John wrote following the 2011 national championship, like they're playing the BCS Bowl, they just won. His buddy calls him up to say, congratulations. He says, nah, this game cost me a week of recruiting. And he's like, yo, man, don't you think that the recruits that you want watched you win the national championship and that's going to matter? He's like, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe it worked. I hope it worked because I got to go out there and I got to get players. Because that's what he's always believed. He has always believed he has to have players to win. And once he gets those players, he tries to put them into what has been dubbed by him and others the process.